Cyclone Amphan slams India and Bangladesh. Millions fled and several deaths have been reported, but for the moment, at least residents say it appears it could have been much worse. A dreaded cyclone tore through eastern India and Bangladesh on Wednesday, knocking down trees, smashing countless shacks, and killing at least several people, but it appeared causing less devastation than initially feared. The combination of an impressive evacuation effort and the storm weakening as it swirled onto land seems to have spared many lives. Just a few days ago, meteorologists were calling the cyclone named Amphan one of the most dangerous storms in decades, and preparations for it were complicated by the fact that the cyclone hit in the middle of the pandemic, with both India and Bangladesh locked down and experiencing an alarming rise in coronavirus infections. Many villagers along India's coast were apprehensive about rushing into packed emergency shelters where they feared they would catch the virus. Hundreds of shelters weren't even available because they had been converted into quarantine centers 2 weeks ago. Still, by Wednesday evening, more than 3 million people had been whisked from their homes along the Bay of Bengal and were staying in shelters. The Bangladeshi authorities also managed to evacuate 520,997 animals, they said, including cows, goats, buffalo, chickens, and ducks. One of the worst hit cities was Calcutta, once the capital of British India, which is home to many fragile buildings hundreds of years old. The eye of Cyclone Amphan passed close to the city, bringing with it 100-mile-per-hour winds and ropes of rain. The storm split trees into pieces, exploded transformers, tipped over electricity poles, and damaged many homes. Unusual destruction for the city, which lies more than 50 miles inland from the Bay of Bengal and is typically spared major cyclone damage. "It's a pretty bad storm," said Jawar Sirkar, a retired government administrator, speaking by telephone as rain lashed the windows of his house in South Calcutta. "Trees are falling, flower pots are falling, things are flying from here to there." Another Calcutta's resident, Manu Banabai, a contractor, was despondent about losing his ancestral home in a fishing village. His grandfather was a fisherman. "If he were alive today," Mr. Bandiovadahai said, "he would have cried." As the cyclone bore down, humanitarian organizations were especially worried about the 1 million Rohingya refugees stuck in muddy camps in coastal Bangladesh, where they ended up after fleeing massacres in Myanmar a few years ago. Many of the refugees live on denuded hillsides in flimsy homes made from sticks and plastic tarps.